I would not underestimate psychoanalysis as a form of social therapy. You know why? Because what was clear already with Freud, and what we should always bear in mind today, is that the archetypal model of psychoanalysis, as it were, it's not, let's say, you or me. Okay, to avoid embarrassing terms, I will say me. Let's say I have certain problems with my sexuality and whatever, impotence and so on. And then psychoanalysis enters and enables me to overcome these obstacles. If there are unconscious prohibitions, to make them explicit, or to get rid of oppressive authorities, paternal authority, whatever, so that at the end I can enjoy. But this is not Freud. Freud is today, especially by feminists, often accused of patriarchal bias. But Freud makes it very clear, already Freud, that today's paradox, the paradox of a society in which we live, and here psychoanalysis, not exactly as Freud put it, but worked through, can help us. Isn't the paradox today, and this intrigues me, that we live officially in permissive societies, different types of permissiveness, but how this permissiveness, instead of enabling open, pleasurable life, produces its own version of even worse oppression and regulation. Let me give you two. This is my basic point. Lacan, Jacques Lacan, my teacher, already dead, pointed out how, from the psychoanalytic standpoint, Dostoevsky's famous phrase, which is today quoted by many new fundamentalists, I think even the one who is not simply a fundamentalist, Jordan Peterson, and so on, if there is no God, then everything is permitted. My conclusion, following Lacan says this, is that it's exactly the opposite. If there is no God, then you end up in a situation where everything is prohibited. And the opposite, if there is God, for you subjectively, directly, in the sense that you think you can act like an instrument of God, then everything is permitted. Two very simple, extreme, opposite examples. Isn't this the logic of today's so-called religious fundamentalism? In all religious fundamentalist regimes, yes, they appear to have many prohibitions, but the basic fact is, if you act as an instrument of God, then, since your acts are, for you, condoned, even enjoined by God himself, you can do basically everything. On the other hand, the true intrigue for me is permissiveness, this obsession with overcoming obstacles, like in some forms of wokeness, Me Too. I know they are not the same, but I generalize. The idea is permissivity, all marginal sexual sexual positions and so on should be permitted, solicited, and the big enemy is paternal or patriarchal, whatever you call it, oppression. But what do we get as the final result of this permissiveness? We get, and I think it's a deep necessity in this, we get political correctness, which I don't disagree with its goals. against racism, sexism, and so on. I disagree with its form. It is formally, of course, against oppression, but the way it functions socially, it's an extremely authoritarian, divisive, oppressive way. What interests me is this, that it de facto imposes a certain set of prohibitions. You shouldn't use this word, you shouldn't do this, do that. And I'm not only following the usual line, which is that political correctness is too rigorous, oppressive. No, it's at the same time very arbitrary. Like all of a sudden, certain phrase, certain words, whatever, certain acts become oppressive, are denounced as oppressive. They are de facto prohibited, and the logic is extremely severe. Like a couple of people we know, I will not even enumerate them, lose their career for saying, writing something maybe tasteless, maybe wrong, but not so horrible. So what interests me is this logic of how permissiveness turns into its opposite. What do I mean by divisiveness? I mean this, as many leftists have noted, that what the left needs today is large-scale solidarity. Join on what unites us. For example, let me give you a concrete example. All these tensions about abortion today. I'm totally pro-abortion, to avoid any misunderstanding. But what I would have done is not to think how to dismiss, attack just those who are against abortion. I would try, with the hope that in the long term they will be converted, to find some common space. I follow here Bernie Sanders, who said in a wonderful way years ago that our target should not be these middle-of-the-road Democrats, but Trump's voters. You know, like my approach would be this one to an anti-abortionist. Okay, I agree. Abortion is not a nice thing. But first, at the level of facts, are we aware? I'm sure this is how it is in Slovenia. Probably it's also in the United States, that anti-abortionists portray a woman who wants an abortion as a rich, upper-class, career-oriented woman who just wants to pursue her profession and so on. No, the majority of abortions are, at least in my own country, Slovenia, it's well documented, are poor working-class women who live on the edge of poverty, who already have 3-4 children, and so on and so on. So my approach to abortionists would be, let's find a common platform, which is better health care, better support for children, education, and so on and so on. You know, the left, that's why I think this stiff political correctness is even reactionary, because it introduces divisions into the left. Instead of opening up the space for united left or some basic issues, it introduces the logic of suspicion. How did you mean that joke, but didn't you mean it wrongly, and so on? Another problem I have here, and this brings us, closer to, finally, I didn't lose my thread, don't be afraid, closer to psychoanalysis, is, where I see the patronizing attitude of the standard forms. There are different, of political correctness. This use of the term, this is already what I find extremely suspicious. Use of the term pain hurt, like you may hurt people with this. Yes, but I think that in contrast to ordinary life, where we should be more careful, I admit it, and so on,